Okay, everybody, this is Charles with the End is here, and I'm going to do something a little different today. I'm just going to record this video and pray to God that I can say what I want to say, and that it will be lucid and hopefully make sense. Ken Roberts over at Fear No Man, he's kind of my hero and one of the reasons I started my channel. And he really has an anointing on him. He can just open his mouth and talk. I really admire how he can do that. So I'm going to give this a try, and like I say, I pray that this will work. So earlier tonight, I went to see the new Bond movie, No Time to Die. And, I was just struck with several things as I saw it. I don't necessarily intend to do this type of video, on my channel, but I saw the movie tonight. And as I was driving, home, I just felt like, I could do a quick video on it. And that's kind of what I've decided to do. I may do things like this, here and there. But, again, the main focus is going to be, Rapture, end of days, that sort of timeline. But anyway, I mentioned to my mother that it would be kind of crazy if the Rapture happened around this time, and one of the big movies that comes out is No Time to Die. Um, I've been a Bond fan for a long time, and I realized that there are aspects of the Bond personality that probably are not really consistent with a Christian lifestyle, and I'm well aware of that. I think that in its place, it can be an okay entertainment, but I'm not here to debate that either way. I'm a Bond fan. I went to see the movie, and just, I really was kind of slapped in the face by a lot of things, kind of predictive programming, just a lot of odd stuff. But anyway, I just want to get into it real quick. I don't plan to make a very long video here. There will be spoilers, so if you haven't seen the movie, please, stop listening now if you don't want to know, because there are some huge, huge, huge spoilers. Okay, so I'm going to do a countdown, count of five, and at that point, I'm going to start talking. So, five, four, three, two, one. Okay, all right, spoilers here. I guess the big, big spoiler is, just like the title says, No Time to Die. Bond, he doesn't make it. Bond dies. That's kind of a big, big um, thing. I think that's kind of a bold move that they made to do that, and I just can't help but think that there's something significant to this. And please hear me out. And again, I pray to God that I can make sense and explain what I want to say here. You know, Before the movie started, or kind of as we're getting into it, I don't know if this was me, I don't know if this was the Lord, but I had this feeling. I thought, this is going to be the last Bond movie. And, my big thing is one of the reasons I started my channel, watching these different things on YouTube with all of our different watchmen, is, we're getting close to the end. I just believe that we really are. The rapture could happen any minute. I could be raptured while I'm recording this. You could be raptured while you're watching this. Um, so that's the first thing that comes to mind. As far as the movie itself, the reviews, whenever it came out in the UK, they were real positive, and then some of the US reviews were not so positive. If you ever watch Rob Meyer Burnett, the Burnett work, he had kind of a negative review. I don't agree with everything he says, but that's the way it goes. You don't agree with everything that anybody says. Um, but he had kind of a negative review. He's a Bond fan, and so it kind of tempered my expectations, and I really wasn't. I don't know. I really didn't know if it would be any good or not. But I'm glad I saw it. I'm glad I went. Going tonight on Friday night is just kind of a it's not something I planned on, but that's what I decided to do. Anyway, so the movie starts. You've got the gun barrel sequence with Daniel Craig. That was nice to see. Kind of the first time one of his movies opened like that. That was pretty cool. Um, wasn't real crazy with the opening sequence, but as it segged into present day, with Bond, post Spectre, I guess. Um, I kind of started to get into it, and this movie plays a lot of tribute to the 1969 Bond movie with George Lazenby, on Her Majesty's Secret Service. And at some point, in the opening sequence, that they use the musical cue from, You Have All the Time in the World. and just kind of this instrumental. And I don't know if maybe there was a saxophone or something, but it just trails off there at the end. And as soon as that hit, I just like, oh yeah, here we go. I mean, just a wonderful song, and it's real good. In that instrumental version, just really liked it. And I think at that point, I was kind of on board. Um, the opening sequence was pretty good, and the way it kind of sets up the Bond Madeline Swan relationship was solid. And the title track for this movie has been out for a very long time, and I haven't listened to it purposefully because I really just kind of wanted to go into the movie and sit down and watch it and see it and experience it and listen to it for the first time. And I'm glad that I did. It's probably my third favorite song of the Craig Bonds. Of course, my name is going to be number one, and then followed by the um, song from Quantum of Solace. I can't think of the name of it right now, but anyway, uh, some people had been critical of the song. I liked it. I thought it was solid. Not by no means a favorite, but I thought it was solid, and I thought the pre-title sequence, or I mean, the title sequence, I thought it was real nice. I thought it looked really good. One of the things about the opening sequence I liked, and something that, and another reason why I'm glad I didn't, listen to the song, beforehand is, as it ends, these dots appear on the screen and it transitions into the credits, and which is just a real nice touch. I really like that. I thought that came off real well, and it's just another thing I liked about the movie. So after that, I guess we, get into the plot of the movie, and this is where this, kind of predictive programming and where we are now, it just really starts to hit you hardcore in the face. You know, uh, Basically the plot, and I don't know how well I can explain it or not, but basically the supervillain is after a yeah, we're gonna get the supervillain. I tell you what a crazy that deal that is. But anyway, so supervillain's out for a bioweapon that basically is triggered. It's targeted, by DNA. So theoretically, it's supposed to be able to go out and kill only the person whose DNA it's coded for. So that's kind of a nice, clever idea. There's some nanoparticles involved, so that's kind of interesting. Now, of course, once the villain gets hold of it, uh, he does something different where it's going to kill everybody and affect everybody, and everybody's going to have these nanoparticles. So, what does that sound like, to everybody? Uh, Sounds kind of like where we are now. And of course, No Time to Die was very famously, pushed back. And just that title, No Time to Die, No Time to Die. I think that there's something about this title. Now, as far as the predictive programming and things like this, my view on predictive programming is a little different. I think, um, a lot of, I think the standard argument is like, well, the devil's gonna, he's got to, he's legally obligated to tell us what he's gonna do. I don't necessarily disagree with that, but I kind of think that there are other things. I kind of think that I think there may be an aspect of things where, if we're paying attention, if we're watching. That there are little things, present just everywhere we look. And, you know, the Lord's whispering, hey, I'm coming, and you just see these little clues. No Time to Die, the title. That's one of them. Bond not making it. That's another one. And I'm going to get into that some more here in just a little. But also, the deal with the bioweapon and the nanoparticles. I think that's all part of it too. There's one part where Bond puts on his tuxedo and goes to this club where they're having a Spectre meeting. That was an effective sequence. That's the sequence that Anna de Armas is in, and of course Daniel Craig is Bond. He's got the tuxedo on, looking like $1 million. And there's a shot or two where all of a sudden he's in the spotlight, and I think that's a nice image for this movie, nice and arresting thing. These movies kind of rise or fall depending on how they look, and I wouldn't say that I'm 100% thrilled with how it looks, but you do have some strong images in that, and I think that this is one of the big ones. I think it's one of my favorites. And plus, just kind of like the surprise on Bond's face, when he gets hit with this light, um, there's just something about that. I just thought it looked cool, and there's just something that resonates with me about that. Overall, I would probably give the movie, you know, 3 stars out of 4. I would say that it's solid. I enjoyed it. I was into it, for the uh, for its entire running time. I did probably think it was a little long, probably a little slow in places. I can't say I 100% understood the plot, but these type of movies I never really do. You kind of have to watch it one or two times before you understand all the little plot twists and everything. But you get a good idea of what's going on in the first watch. I think that the big thing with this movie is, it's going to be Craig's last, and they wanted to kind of, Rob Meyer Burnett. He mentioned how it, kind of retroactively, they've retroactively made this a saga where all the movies are kind of tied in together, and I think that that's, you know, I'm interested in that. I think that that's not a bad idea for a Bond story. You know, as far as how effective it is, I don't think it's super, super, super effective. I do think it works, but it's not perfect. It's a little rough around the edges, but it's first time for a Bond. I think it's kind of a first time thing for Bond that sort of contains story within these five movies. There's kind of a famous saying where you know your reach should always exceed your grasp. Your reach should always exceed your grasp, and I think we've got a big thing with that in this movie. Um, I think it's a movie that has ambitions, but I'm not sure that it really fulfills those ambitions. I made a note that basically said, I've got a note here basically that the mechanics of the story, don't match up with the ambition of the story. And I think that that's, the case. I think that, I've heard a lot of people say, well, you know, the Bond Swan relationship is not really all that fulfilling, that it doesn't really make sense that he's in love with her and all that stuff. And I kind of get that. And I think that that's kind of indicative of the entire movie. Um, you've got a lot of things that are kind of presented here, and you don't, at least for me, I didn't 100%, I did not 100% feel these things. I didn't accept them on a 100% level, but I did accept them to a degree. And again, I think that that's just kind of the thing here where, the movie had ambitions. Craig's last movie, they want to do something with Bond that they've never done before. Killing him, that's a big, big, that's kind of a uh, a courageous strategy. It takes some boldness to do something like that. As far as the female 007, I thought she was actually pretty good. That was something I was a little skeptical of, but she was real good in the part. And the kind of rivalry that she's got with Bond, that works real well. And she even had some charisma, so I was impressed with her. As far as the villain, now here's where we're getting into it. Now the villain, okay, so supervillain is basically his name is Safin, but his first name is Lucifer. Yeah, yeah. So supervillain in the Bond movie is Lucifer Safin, and I mean, and I think Bond even maybe calls him Lucifer at one point in the movie, and it's just like, oh man, it just really takes you back. Um, I've heard some people say that he's not very, that he's wasted or not very good. I thought he was solid. You know, if you think about it, the Bond villain kind of has a tough thing because, you want to be memorable, you want to be menacing, and you want to look a certain way. That's kind of the big thing with the Bond villain. You got to have some kind of gimmick. You got to look a certain way. You got to speak a certain way. And as far as speaking and looking, uh, the guy that plays Stefan, I thought he was pretty good. And people saying he's underused, I think that's just another symptom of just the entire movie where you've got an ambition that this movie's trying to achieve, but again, the mechanics of the story just don't quite hit, don't quite hit that ambition, don't quite fulfill that ambition would maybe be a better way to say it. Um, but overall, I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. Now, you know, I leaving, I thought a lot about Casino Royale, and I remember seeing it the first time it came out, and just love Casino Royale from the start. Also like the book quite a bit. It's a very, very strong book, and the movie follows the book fairly closely. Of course, it's updated, obviously, and probably the first 45 minutes or so, were added. That of course is not in the book, where he's jumping on cranes and all that stuff. But um, anyway, I was just thinking about how great Casino Royale was, and just how, the Craig movies just really didn't kind of fulfill the promise of that. Of course, it's probably kind of hard to do, and it's probably kind of even unfair for me to say that. Rob Meyer Burnett, he talked about how he liked Quantum of Solace, which is the second Craig film, and for me, like these second Bond movies are always just a little are not as good as the first ones. For example, Living Daylight's a great Bond movie. License to Kill, not as good. Now I've kind of come around to License to Kill. I've got to where I really like it quite a bit, and I think it's pretty solid. Um, now this is my opinion. A lot of people will disagree with this. GoldenEye, of course, is great. Nobody's going to disagree with that. But Tomorrow Never Dies has never been one of my favorites for whatever reason. I'm not real sure why. It may just be some of the aesthetics of it, how it looks. But to me, that's a significant step down from GoldenEye. So when we go into Quantum of Solace, the second Craig film, following Casino Royale, I didn't expect it to be very good at all. And of course, as soon as it started, you see the Sony logo, and just kind of that hum, that thriller hum, and opens up, on the water in that car chase, and then soon you hear with the guns. And I mean, I was into it from the beginning, and I like the song, I like the credit sequence, and then the action sequence that follows that. I think they're in Madrid, Spain, and I remember there's like a little uh, bit where you see flags twirling, and just, I mean, it just looks nice. And then it kind of climaxes that scene where Bond is on the ropes with that one guy, and they're just like hanging in the air, fighting each other, trying to get to the gun. Oh man, that, I mean, just a brilliant sequence. I think that probably the first half of Quantum of Solace is about as solid as a second Bond movie could be. Now that's kind of a backhand compliment, and I don't mean it to be, but I think it's solid. In fact, I may even ought to watch that again. Now the second half, I'm not as crazy about, but that first half is solid. And something else that gets talked about a lot is the scene where they're at the opera. That's a brilliant scene. You got Bond, and he's walking, and here the bad guys are. Supervillain is there with his entourage. They pause and they look each other. They look at each other. They kind of posture. Just a brilliant, great moment. Um, I'm a Clive Cussler fan as well. Dirk Pitt is kind of similar to a Bond character, and uh, Clive Cussler and his son Dirk, they've got a book called Poseidon's Arrow, and there's a similar scene in that where Dirk Pitt, it's kind of probably in the kind of toward the end. Dirk and Al, they've been, basically they're kind of in like a slave camp, labor thing, in a mine. That's kind of a Dirk Pitt trope if you've read several of the books. But there's a point where, I guess Dirk and Al, they're kind of liberating. Well, I think Al is maybe sidelined, but anyway, Dirk is like liberating the Pitt. He's liberating the camp and everything, and there's just chaos all around. And the supervillain, he walks outside of his mansion, on this island where they are, and he pauses, and Dirk Pitt pauses, and they just look at each other. Of course, Quantum of Solace came out in '08. Poseidon's Arrow came out in 2012, so I would say that was influence. I don't know that, but that would be my guess. But still, great moment in that book, great moment in that movie. Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace, to me, the action sequences, had that fast zip, that fast pacing. Um, when whenever they did Skyfall, whenever the new director came in, Sam Mendes, I really didn't feel like he had. Now this is my opinion. I know that a lot of people aren't gonna like this. Skyfall's kind of like the third rail. Nobody wants to say anything bad about it. I'm just not a big fan of that movie. Didn't much care for it at all. In fact, I haven't seen it since it came out, and I may rewatch it again. But I didn't like it when it came out. I just had all kinds of problems with it. But one of the things that I noticed just first off is just there just wasn't much zip to the action, and I noticed that kind of carried through with Spectre, and it kind of seems like it's here too. I mean, you've got some good action sequences, but they just don't have that zip that that the action sequences had in Quantum of Solace and certainly in Casino Royale. So I think that's kind of a step back. But it's kind of a minor thing because overall, um, the story kept me engaged and I kept watching and everything. Um, but yeah, that's just something I noticed. Something else I did like is Safin on his island. He's got a what they call a garden, a poison garden, which I don't really, I'm not real crazy about that name. I think, um, but I mention this because there's so many different elements of the different Fleming books that aren't adapted maybe in the movie version. So. Um, for example, basically the garden is in You Only Live Twice. That's a big part of You Only Live Twice, and it's actually kind of a clever idea where Blofeld has basically got this garden, and there are all these deadly plants that are there, deadly animals and stuff, and it's basically a garden of death where just everywhere you turn, there's something deadly there that could kill you, and of course Bond has got to infiltrate that to kill Blofeld. You Only Live Twice is a pretty good book. The movie is quite a bit different, and it's almost like the modern it's almost like the template of the Bond movie. It's got a big ending and everything. And I used to not much care for You Only Live Twice, but I like it a lot more than I used to. And I think it's solid. But the book is also good. But my point is that Garden of Death. That's such a clever idea that was in You Only Live Twice. The novel is not in the movie. And it hasn't been used, but they used it in this movie, and that seems like that sort of thing comes up every now and then, and you only, no, excuse me, in Live and Let Die, Felix Slider is, eaten by a shark. And of course, that's not in the movie Live and Let Die, but it's in License to Kill, the second Timothy Dalton movie. So, you just have stuff like that. But I'm getting sidetracked here. My big thing was I just kind of wanted to talk about, what I thought of the movie, but also just kind of some of the predictive programming things. So you've got a villain named Lucifer who's got a bioweapon um, that can be programmed by DNA, to kill mass numbers of people, and that injects you with nanoparticles. That's, I don't know what to say to that. Also, the name of the movie, No Time to Die, and also Bond is dead in it. Uh, you know, this is kind of a big thing. Um, last Halloween, Yaku over at God's Roadmap to the End, who I have a lot of respect for and admiration. He's got great videos, and he had a great video last year about Rapture on Halloween. And he had all these dreams of people seeing things like around Halloween. And I really thought, well, I don't honestly, I didn't really think it was going to be Halloween. I kind of thought it would be more around election, but that's a few days difference, honestly. But if you'll remember, Sean Connery, of course, passed away on Halloween of last year, and I was saddened by that. And I mentioned to my aunt, my aunt had been visiting at my parents' house, and I mentioned to her that night. I said something along the lines of, you know, and of course I had gone to every member of my family and told them, hey, we're getting close to the end. If you haven't accepted Christ, it's time to now. Um, and some of my family, were gracious about it. Some of them have not been so gracious, but that is what it is. But and everybody on YouTube, every Christian who's looking at these things, they're all experiencing the same thing. So I'm not complaining, and I just I pray that they will see the urgency of what's going on here. But I mentioned to my aunt, we were talking about Sean Connery passing away, and I mentioned to her, I said, I'm upset about it and I'm saddened about it, but I knew that the rapture was imminent, and I said something along the lines of, we live in a world where we no longer need a hero like James Bond. And that's kind of the point of this video. We no longer need a hero like James Bond. The Cold War is over. The Bond books, they have that background of the Cold War for the most part. Now, there were some in the 90s that Raymond Benson wrote that were very good, in my opinion. That kind of carried Bond in, post Cold War. And I think there might have been a Gardner book or two, maybe even more than that. But anyway, I'm getting sidetracked again here. But my point is, the world we're living in now, we're going to be sliding into the tribulation here soon. And so, that's not a backdrop for a hero like Bond to be running around. It's just not. So the fact that Bond dies in this movie is just something that just really, really sticks out to me. And again, the world we are entering in, uh, and please, I hope you can get this, and I hope I'm able to explain this, but I really feel like the world we're entering in is a different world. The heroes that we had in the past, they no longer have a place here anymore. It's going to be a whole different thing. It really is. Something I was real disappointed by in the movie. I stayed till I stayed for all the credits. You know, um, in the interim between Spectre and this movie, Roger Moore passed away and Sean Connery passed away. Now, before the credits in Tomorrow Never Dies, and I'm not saying this is wrong. I think that they should have done this, but they honor Cubby Broccoli who passed away. In this movie, I mean, Sean Connery and Roger Moore, they're the reason we've got Bond. I mean, Sean Connery starts it off, and of course Roger Moore continues it very ably. Um, I was real disappointed that there was no acknowledgement, in honor of Roger, in honor of Sean. I really thought that was in bad taste, honestly, and I don't mean to be critical or ugly, but I thought that was a big, big, big misstep. And but again, I think it kind of goes to that theme, that the world we're entering, it's, it doesn't have a place for a hero like James Bond anymore. It just doesn't. The end of the movie, of course, they don't have a funeral for Bond or anything. It doesn't show anything like that, but there is a scene where M and Tanner, Moneypenny and Q and everybody there, and of course the new 007, they're having a drink basically in honor of Bond. And M opens up a book, and this was kind of a nice touch. I'm thinking, well, are we going to read a Bible verse? What's going on here? But he reads a quote from Ian Fleming, and it's basically to the extent that I'm not, you know, Ian Fleming was a great writer, and he had just such a good, he was very, his books are well observed. He has a good turn of phrase. Just a good writer. He had well observed details, good turn of phrase, just A plus. And uh, so they read a quote from Ian Fleming. Of course, they don't say it's from Ian Fleming, but if you're in the know, and it's something along the lines of. And Ian Fleming said this. He didn't live very long. He passed away when he was 50, uh, partly due to his lifestyle, partly due to probably a lawsuit involving Thunderball. But anyway, that's a whole nother story, and you're probably aware of that. But anyway, basically, M reads this quote. I'm not going to waste my time. I'm not going to waste my days trying to prolong them, and something along those lines. So that was a nice moment, and credits play. Um, all the time in the world. Louis Armstrong um, from On Her Majesty's Secret Service, and of course they drive the Aston Martin from On Her Majesty's Secret Service, which is a sharp, nice looking Aston Martin. Um, but again, disappointed that there wasn't a nod to Sean Connery and Roger Moore. I think I almost kind of think it's unconscionable. I mean, I was waiting for it. I can kind of see if you want to go into the credits and have the cast, and then maybe have a black screen, and then in honor of our friends, Sir Sean Connery, Sir Roger Moore. But no, nothing like that. And I don't think it would have taken away from the movie either. I think it would have been a good thing to add. And I'm real, like I said, I'm just real disappointed, real disappointed about that. I don't know what the reason is behind it, but I'm disappointed. But again, just it goes back to my theme of what I've been saying. We're living in a world, Sean Connery's gone, Roger Moore's gone. And then of course the fictional Bond dies in this movie. We are entering into a world that just cannot sustain a hero like James Bond anymore. It's a different world. If you've read the Left Behind books, the main character is Rayford Steele and Buck. What's his last name? Buck Cameron? No, that's Kirk Cameron. Buck Buck Williams. Buck Williams. Gosh, um, you know, they're the heroes that are about to take the stage. In fact, I've wondered, what would happen if Bond is alive during the tribulation, and I would hope at some point he would get saved and uh, you know I guess start bringing other people to Christ. Maybe go on missions. Maybe when we get to heaven we can write story like that, maybe to be fun. I mentioned Lucifer, and he's got a garden of death, you know, um, and again, you just can't make it up. That predictive programming. It reminds me there's a good comic book series called Serpent's Tooth, and it kind of deals with the Garden of Eden, and the supervillain. He has kind of a almost like a devilish characterization, and I think he's kind of I think he's has allusions to the devil, and is kind of a devil stand-in. It's a very, very good comic book. It's 3 issues. Um, in fact, I've read it several times. It's really, really just a good, fun. I mentioned the You Only Live Twice movie earlier. It's in that vein where it's just a big, fun Bond story. So I would recommend that. I may also read. I was thinking about reading Colonel Sun, which was written by Kingsley Amis. It's actually the first Bond novel that was not written by Ian Fleming, and I think it's considered one of the best non Fleming Bond novels. Now, another one I read back on Christmas, which I loved, was called Solo. Man, Solo, A plus. If you're in the mood for a Bond book, I would recommend Solo. But anyway, that's all I've got for today, I think. Been kind of rambling all over the place, but again, just to reiterate, the title of the movie, No Time to Die. You know, um, we're getting close. I think we're getting close, and I think that if you're paying attention, you've got things everywhere. You've just got a chorus of whispers. Hey, it's coming. And for me, it can't get here soon enough. I've got a video that I've been working on all summer, and in the past couple months. You say, oh yeah, well, we're past the summer. Yeah, I know. I pray that I get it done. And I guess if you have a minute, pray that I get it done. I'm almost finished with it. I've just got a few other things that I want to add to it, but I don't know. I've just been kind of dragging my feet, and I don't know. I just haven't been. Seems like I just haven't had that motivation, or I haven't had that zeal that I had when I started the video. But I'm praying that I'll get that done here soon, and I'll have that uploaded, and it kind of goes along with the Ukraine video that I made a while back too. But anyway, I hope that you got something out of this. I appreciate you listening to me. I know this has been a longer video than I really intended, but anyway, I appreciate your time. Thank you for listening. This is Charles. Today's Saturday, October the 9th of 2021. The end is here.